we're here on the high point of the ridge, which is the end of a peninsula which is formed by the River Glyde, which comes down parallel to the shore of Dundalk Bay. You can see the shoreline here behind us.
The pool of the beast Duachaill, who was a water monster. And the legend is that when St. Coleman founded a monastery here in the 6th century, he destroyed the water monster Duachaill. And the monastery became known as the monastery of Linn Duachaill. The Vikings arrived here in 841 to build a longphort. They destroyed the monastery, which we believe is within the enclosure of the longphort. This is the citadel of the longphort of Linn Duachaill. It's the strong point that your elite would have fallen back on if the Irish came over the rampart. It's quite a substantial earthwork. It's about 80 metres across. It's a D-shaped earthwork, and it's built up on this very steep slope overlooking the river. Now, in the past, some scholars had suggested that this earthwork was the longphort of Linn Duachaill, but as a longphort was built to protect the fleet, you can see there's nobody hauling Viking ships up that slope. And most of the edge of this peninsula is quite steep. So when we were looking for the longphort, we figured, well, there's nobody pulling boats up slopes like this. So the place at which the boats have been taken out of the water has to be up along the river, has to be along the River Glyde, and it has to be a place where there's a gentle slope down where you can get in and out. We can look back along the peninsula. We can see down below us the River Glyde meandering along. But what we can also see here is that the land slopes down gently to the river. And this is the first area between here and Lisnaran where you have that kind of a gentle gradient to the river, which would have facilitated the Vikings taking their boats in. We're more than a mile upstream here, but it's only 250 kilometres from that bend of the River Glyde to the shore, which is just at the back of these houses. So a rampart cut across through this field will protect the whole of the peninsula to the south. It will also protect the area of sloping ground going down to the river. Been ploughed out, but you can still see the contours of the rampart. We put an excavation trench across that rampart, and we found surviving below the base of the defensive bank and the ditch outside it. Now that was a big ditch. It was 3 metres deep from the present ground surface and 6 metres across. Now you put a big bank inside of that and a palisade up on top of that, you've got a very, very substantial defensive rampart which would have protected the whole of the fortification. So the Viking longphort of Linn Duachaill runs from here all the way back to Lisnaran, which is a little over a kilometre to the south of us.